All right, rolling out. It is Monday. Yes, it is Monday. You're not wrong. It's Monday. This is the second reality check. I promised you guys we're going to go back to back. We're a little bit late, but technical difficulties are happening, but it's all good because we are here. We are here and we're going to have a great conversation with AJ from Ready to Love. You guys know, don't pay attention to the background. We've just had to make some adjustments, but that's all good. I'm excited about tonight's conversation. I call him the tall, dark, mysterious bachelor of Ready to Love, and he is here. He is ready to have a great conversation with us. I'm going to bring him on in without further ado.
Hey.
AJ, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh my God. I thought we had gotten rid of our technical issues. We were doing good there for a second, but it looks like they are back.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad.
It's not as bad. Well, first of all, welcome. You look great.
Thank you. You do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We are in a different location because I wanted to make sure that we got this conversation going. We have people joining. You guys just bear with us a bit. We're having some issues with the connection. And if we need to, I don't want to reschedule this, but I just want to make sure that we have a great conversation tonight, because a lot of people have been waiting for this. A lot of, our audience loves Ready to Love. So AJ, they have been waiting to hear from you. So I want to make sure that we do it the right way. So yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Okay. All right. So let's get into this. AJ, where were you? I love to start conversations like this to kind of give us an idea of where and what drew you to Ready to Love, right? So where were you at in life that made you heed the call and decide, you know what, I'm going to take a chance and go on a dating show?
Man, I didn't a few times. I said no a couple of times, and then one of the producers were like, "Hey, did you ever see the show?" And I was like, "No." They were like, "Hey, you just need to look at the show. I promise you, it's not what you think it is. Just take a look at it." So I looked at season 2, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is different." It was very mature. It was classy. It wasn't a lot of drama. And the women, I was like, if I was on that particular season, the women were really attractive. So I was like, hey, let's see what happens here. And I kind of, gave myself a chance to kind of open up and thought about it. I talked to a few people that were my friends, and they were like, well, what's stopping you from doing it? And so I was like, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. Now, what was your dating like before? Because I've heard a lot of guys say that they got asked, to be on the show, and I'm sure production does a pretty good job of being a good-looking group of people together for these shows. But what was going on in your life with your dating life that you were even open and single to be able to, consider this?
Man. A lot of the same, right? So, you like what it is that you like, and I'm no different. So I felt like I was picking similar women. They might have looked different, but they had similar attributes and they had similar characteristics, which, lended to me running into similar problems. Right. So it was just kind of like, well, hey, how about I allow someone else to pick the women for me and be kind of in like a more controlled environment, and a lot of the issues that you have with that early on chemistry kind of part will go away. And then you have like a mediator, and, I just looked at it where it's like, hey, even if it goes bad and I'm not in the space of where I end up in a relationship, I have like enough information for even me to look back at and to see how I came to myself, right? And to see like, okay, how is it that I'm approaching dating? How am I coming off? What is it I'm doing? Can I see something in myself that I'm doing wrong? No different than, anybody else that is performing or an athlete or something. They looking at the tape. They go back to the tape and they say, hey, I could have did this better, or I could do this, or I could do that. Because in the moment you feel like you're doing everything right. But when you go back and look at it, it's like, oh no, it's a lot of stuff that you can improve on. So
right. Well, I want to ask you watching it, and you guys let us know, because I don't want to go too far into this interview if the sound is bad, because like I said, I know people are really excited about this and it would really just do it injustice. So I'd rather reschedule if we need to, because I don't want people to not get a good have a clear understanding of your perspective. So you guys, please let us know, chime in the chats. There's quite a few people in the room, but chime in and let us know if you're able to hear and if things are going better. So if not, we can reschedule it. But AJ, what did you see when you watched the show back? Because I always wonder, like, I know it happens a little bit, and then you have some time off, you have some time to think, and then you get a chance to watch it. So what was your perspective of yourself and the choices that you made, and even how you came off when you watched yourself back?
I think so first of all, like, what you guys got to see was a very, very trimmed down version of like several dates, that everybody went on. And so you might have had a 2-hour date that was trimmed down to 2, 3, 4 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Maybe less than that in some cases. And so you're only picking out the parts that make sense for the story that wants to be, that's kind of making itself and lending itself to be told. But I looked at it where it's like, can't anybody make me look away that I'm not already, you know what I'm saying, kind of in. And if anything, I think a lot of my conversation and dialogue got cleaned up. I think now that I'm talking on these interviews and stuff, people see that I'm much more vocal than I was, kind of portrayed on the show. So yeah, they were like, oh yeah, just cut all of that out. I think a lot of it now I generated enough conversation already as it is, but if they left a lot of the conversation that I was having in, I think it would have generated way more controversy and conversation amongst the dating populace.
Really?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
tell us, because you did come off as the strong silent type. They edited you to be like the strong, silent, kind of laid back, mysterious type.
Sure.
Do you think that, but do you think that's indicative of who you are?
I'm reserved until I'm not. So like if I go into a new space, I got two modes. Either I'm going to play the background and be reserved and kind of fill it out. And then as I get comfortable, then I'll kind of open up, or I'll literally go into a place and say, okay, I know that I'm going to be like the center of attention and I'm going to be okay with that. But then everybody's going to adjust to me, And so I think I went into this particular situation. There was already someone funny. That was Diedrich, hands down. He was the funny guy. I was like, I'm not gonna out funny him, You had the very, very charismatic guy. That was Joel. I was like, yo, he's got all of the charisma. He's gonna, it's like, oh, okay, that's that guy. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of chill out. I'm gonna listen to everybody. I didn't want to be overly, like, I want to hear where everybody else was coming from. And the main thing is, as far as knowing that I'm on television, I didn't want to cut people off. So I wanted to listen to everything they had to say, regardless if I agreed with it or not, and then respond afterwards. So
that's interesting. We didn't really get a chance to see funny from Diedrich.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we didn't see that. We did. I wish I had a great conversation with him, and I think he I wish we had gotten a chance to see some more, but I know the producers are trying to make TV. What did you think when you first got there? Because it's always interesting to see who is initially attracted to who, and then if they end up together. To me, it seemed like the only people that were with who they were initially attracted to was Joelle and Vernisha. Obviously, you and Kyra were attracted to each other because you guys had went on a date before. But is there anybody else that you were attracted to at first that you didn't end up really getting to know and didn't really have a connection with?
No. So I think that I got a chance to talk to everybody, but my initial attraction was to Stacy, Chrysanthemum, and then because Stacy was kind of like the first one there, so she was still sitting in like right where you come in. So I saw her like quickly. Chris, she was kind of around the corner, so I saw her a little bit later, but you know, you couldn't really miss her in that like baby blue dress. So it was like, all right. I think she was talking to Troy, and I was like, okay, as soon as she gets done, I'm gonna talk to her too. Liz came in later after that, and I was like, oh, okay. She, like David, I think had scooped her up immediately, as we all saw, and it was just kind of like when she walked past, I was like, hey, after you get done, I want to talk to you. And she was like, great. And so we had like a really long conversation that first day too.
Okay.
I think the next person to come in was Kyra, and then Alexis came in, I think, second to last almost. So, you know, those were the people that kind of stood out to me.
Now, when you saw Kyra, what was your immediate thought? Because we learned, you know, she immediately told the rest of the ladies and Tommy that, you know, you guys had history. So were you excited to see her?
No. No, because it was kind of one of those things like, yo, this has got to be crazy. Because, of course, me saying no to the show, they were asking me, hey, what's my apprehension? And they asked me, hey, what's a disaster date? And I mentioned the only reason the whole El Cheapo and the date thing came up was because I brought it up. And then even after I brought it up, I just found it so crazy that here comes the woman that this actual date happened with. And I grabbed one of the producers and I said, hey, don't you remember the story that I told you about the date, that my disaster date? Well, there's the woman. And of course, they lit up like it was Christmas, and then it was off to the races. So now we got to talk about this date. But I've been quiet about it. I don't think we would have got into it much at all, probably.
Well, she probably brought it up, you don't think?
Yeah, I think she did too as well, but I don't think it would have been as big of a thing if I didn't say, you know, hey, and tell this grandiose story about what happened in the date and just, you know what I'm saying, all of the stuff that happened. And it was such a cool story for the producers to hear that when I said, here's the woman that it happened with, they were like, oh, you know, spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah, that had to be that had to be a very great coincidence for them, because that's a crazy. Everybody has dates from hell, and for you to have two people there that both experience that, that's either going to go great or, you know, familiarity is always. I think people kind of gravitate towards familiar things, especially if there's something that happened that caused you guys not to be able to connect. Can you give us, for those that are watching, we've got quite a few people in here. Thank you guys for being patient with us. I know we're a little bit late tonight. I'm so thankful to have AJ here right after the finale that happened on Friday. But AJ, for anyone that did not get a chance to hear your side, because we heard Kyra's side of the date on Ready to Love, can you share with us what happened on the date and why were you ill prepared for the date with Kyra, the initial date?
Look. So whatever Kyra said is probably accurate. You got to remember, you're dealing with a lawyer that deals in the facts, you know, right. So she's going to remember all of the exact facts of what was happening. But, you know, she invited me out. I was trying to get her out for a few times and I couldn't do it. She was always busy. So she invited me out and she told me to, hey, meet her at a place. It's one of our favorite places or whatever. And now we see that Kyra is fabulous and, you know, dresses and all of this. You know, we know that now. I didn't know that at the time. You know, like I dress and go to work kind of really normal and regular. So no, I'm not gonna Google the place. I said, okay, cool. I'm gonna be coming out to work. And so I get there. She had one of her gown situations on, a whole dress and heels, and I had on J's jeans, a t-shirt, and a baseball cap. You know, I was ready to just kind of like, oh, okay, this is like our first little thing. Because for me, I'm not a white tablecloth kind of guy for the first encounter, or even like we need to dress up for drinks kind of guy. Like I you know, we work up to that. I want it to be kind of almost as informal as possible.
Okay.
If I can have it that way, if I'm dating. So that was the first thing. She was just looking like, yo, we're going to two different places. You know, like we look like we're going to two totally different venues.
Right.
But come to find out, the venue had like a private event, so we couldn't go either. So the whole thing, I jab at her all the time. She's like, well, you know, obviously you didn't Google either because you would have known that this place was closed for today, you know. But so we went to the next place. She was obviously annoyed at that. It's just one of those situations where it was like the bad time first. You know, I was late, and so I think I was about 20 minutes late as well. So late.
Oh, goodness, AJ.
That's what I'm saying. So I was late. I wasn't dressed right. You know. Hey, so she had an attitude, and so this date was going off to a bad start from the beginning. She already beat me to the next place. She ordered a drink, started the tab. You know, I had a drink too. We drank that drink, and then everything else took place from after that. You know, and then it was just kind of like let's get up out of here. We don't need to kind of keep going with this date the way it's going right now.
Where did you meet her? Where did you see her out and approached her? How did you really try to holler, AJ?
Man, I actually didn't. So it was like a music industry type of event, and I think it was a competition, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like a producer showcase that I was a part of.
Okay.
And I think she approached me, or I approached her, but she was a lawyer. And she was working at entertainment law at the time, and I needed an entertainment lawyer. So we actually went out initial time before then.
Okay.
It was more of like a business dinner type of situation where it's like, oh, okay, well, what is it that you're looking for? What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. But still at the same time, you know, we got to know each other's backgrounds and et cetera. And it was in that I learned that, you know, she was from Chicago, and we had similar backgrounds, went to the same high school, you know, et cetera. And then it was from there that it was kind of like, well, man, I would like to take you out.
Okay.
Right. So that's the reason why I was saying it was the second date that all of this happened on. But really that first encounter, that first date was more of a business kind of meeting than a date.
Okay. Well, that's a good backstory. We didn't hear any of that. So after the second date, what were you thinking about Kyra? Were you thinking that you guys are just kind of in different places, or were you just thinking, man, I messed that up, I'll just chalk that up to the game? What was your thought process?
No, because we actually went out again after that.
Okay, you know, so you didn't know that either. Okay.
So we went out again after that, and it was kind of like one of those things where I thought I could make the situation up. And so we had a fairly I don't know what you would consider expensive or not expensive or whatever, but I would think if you spend $200 on a date, that's kind of like, oh, you know, you made up for not paying for a date but the previous time. But it just the vibe was off, and I don't even remember saying it, but she was just kind of like, I asked her like, yo, it feels kind of like you're just going through the motions. It feels like you're just here not to get fined, you know, because it was at the time, like, and that lets you know exactly when this was. This was when Marshawn Lynch and the Seattle Seahawks were, you know, a big deal. Like they were going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was whatever year that was when they were going to the Super Bowl, and like Marshawn Lynch was a big deal, and he wasn't giving interviews. He was saying, "I'm just here so I don't get fined."
Yeah.
And so I mentioned that to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I am, like, because so she was kind of just checked out, and there was no need for me to revisit it if that's how you felt about it. We
Yeah.
saw each other and continued to kind of keep in contact. Social media, we would see each other out and about, and I'll say what's up if I saw her, but didn't too much more take place or happen after that.
Okay. So you get to the show, you see the girl that you've gone on a couple dates with, but y'all didn't have good chemistry. What made you think, let me try this again?
We on the show?
Looking amazing in her dresses, because she does look amazing in her dresses.
We're on the show, and obviously you got to feel like, yo, this got to be more than just coincidence. So, okay. And they asked me, they said, hey, if you did run into somebody that you previously date, would you give them a second chance? So I already had committed to saying, yes, I would give the person that, because it could have been not her, it could have been another woman or something that I've dated here in Houston. And I had already said, like, if I ran into someone I previously dated, I would give them a second chance. Yeah. Or I would still be interested in seeing, what's there. So
was there anything specifically about her that that made you think, let me try this one more time, or let me just make sure? Because I get it. It could be coincidence. It could feel like, okay, maybe this is supposed to happen, but there had to be good qualities. I mean, like I said, of course, the comments, everyone saying, when she's a beautiful woman, AJ was just like, damn, she's beautiful. Let me try it again. But what was there anything else about Kylea that made you think, you know what, even after the first date, and they're maybe not being, the second, they're not for you guys to go out again, there has to be something about her that you really are drawn to, even if it doesn't necessarily work out?
Yeah, of course. You know what I'm saying? There's always those intangible things, but that's what makes them intangible. They're kind of hard to describe. But if I could be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. I think it was a few people on the show, but not very many, that you can see standing next to me, like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think we all have those type of people in our mind that when we look at them, it goes beyond necessarily just attraction. It's you looking at them, how do they look on paper, kind of, so to speak. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that, outside of her just being attractive and me feeling like we had common ground and just being familiar with each other, was like, oh, okay, I think that people would think that this made sense.
Okay. So that power couple is a good look. We kind of fit together anyway in that space. So, all right, so let's move to Alexis. Because you mentioned Stacy, you mentioned Chrysanthemum, but we only saw really you having kind of energy back and forth with Alexis. But when it started, to me, it seemed like Alexis was very attracted to you. And from what we saw, and we had Alexis on last week, and she explained everything very great. But for us watching it, it seemed like Alexis was very much into you, and you weren't really sure about her early on, especially when we saw the aggressiveness. I think there was a conversation that you had on camera where you're like, she's a little bit too aggressive for me. That's not really, my speed or whatever. So tell us about that, because we didn't really see the chemistry with you and Alexis until the very end when you shut her up with a kiss.
Well, no, it was more to it than that. And we had other moments where there was chemistry for sure. But it was one of those moments, I guess, kind of like Chris almost, where she was saying she went on a date with Ron. She didn't ask for a date with Ron. Like, I didn't ask for a date with Alexis. So you got to think about it. And it was my very first date. So if I'm saying like, okay, now was she in the women that caught my attention, and did I make sure that I had a conversation with her on the first day? Sure, I definitely did. But was that like the very first date that I wanted to have? No, not really. You know what I'm saying? The dates that I requested, were with other people. Actually, the first date that I requested was with Chrysanthemum, when we were supposed to go. We actually did. We went bowling, but we had like a bet. It was a bowling date. I think it happened like more than halfway after we were into the season. So think about like at the end, like almost at the masquerade almost. I think it was either like right before or almost like right after the masquerade. So the masquerade was like the halfway point. And that was the first time we actually got to go on a date. So with Alexis, it was kind of like, okay, I like you, but I had other interests that I felt like were stronger at the time. And I didn't want to go too far with her to where it messed any other connection that I might have up, if that makes sense. Because I understood what going into this, that the women were going to talk, and they definitely talked. And so, you didn't want to go ahead and set like a precedent or set a tone to where you weren't necessarily, you still couldn't maneuver the way you wanted to. So I kept it pretty neutral up front.
Yeah.
And so when she was trying to take it past neutral, on the very first date, it was kind of like, oh, wait a second. Let's. So it wasn't the fact that it was just like, I wasn't feeling her. It was kind of, I didn't know what to expect. It was the first date, and, she was way more comfortable in front of the camera than I was at that time.
Well, it is kind of like, and she acknowledged that she probably didn't pick up on some things when she watched it back. But if you requested other dates first and you didn't get those, then it is kind of like, it's not really, that wasn't necessarily the same priority, right? At the time, initially.
At the time, initially. But, of course, on the date, you after you see someone, you have chemistry, you have dope conversation, and then it kind of goes from there. Like I had really, really dope conversation with Liz. Like Liz was by far the easiest person to talk to on the entire show.
Wow.
However, once that whole piece of where it was like, oh, okay, well, we're going in two different directions. And I didn't want to feel like I was going to sign myself up for something that I knew that I wasn't going to be fully about. Yeah. And I didn't want to feel like I was taking someone away from what they wanted to do. Like if your journey or what it is that you're talking about doing is this, even if you later say, oh, okay, I'm okay with doing something else, I didn't want to carry that weight of feeling like you were only doing something else because of me.
Are you talking about her celibacy journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, we ain't have to get all into it, but yeah,
I'm just we grown. Everybody that's okay. I didn't know if you were talking.
I'm like Amber when it comes to that. Like, hold on, wait a second. But but that's the difference. See, Amber can do that because she's a woman. But if I was the person that was pressuring the woman to be like, nah, girl, even though I did, they edited it out. But
that's one of those things you said you would have looked.
Yeah, they edited it smooth out, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm all right with y'all editing that part out because notice I didn't answer the question right away. I kind of asked a few other questions. All right, wait. So what are you doing? Like, is this for like a time because you're not in a relationship, or you trying to make it to marriage? What's going on? Once she said that, though, she said she wanted to be, abstained until marriage. I was like, oh, okay, nope, all right, okay, cool.
But I think it's dope that you were honest, because a lot of guys would say, okay, well, I'm gonna get in there and then make her change her mind, and then if it doesn't work, then she feels, all that. So I would rather someone is honest and say, you know what, that ain't for me, or like like Amber was like say what, like, are we gonna change this? And I think we just don't expect guys to be. We don't expect it to be the other way around. But
there were quite a few guys that were like that on the show, though. You had Dave. Dave was one.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Just saying you don't believe it for a second.
I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna ask him about it, but I just
he said it when on the brunch day. It was the second day. He was
he said it. I just don't believe him. I don't believe it. Have you ever had a woman tell you that she's celibate and then she end up not celibate?
Look, that was the reason why I asked. I'll say, so are you a virgin? Oh, you've had sex before, right? Oh, okay. Never say less. But no.
All right, that's real. I mean, he may, and I no disrespect. I'm just saying, watching it, I think that his religious beliefs probably support that, but what we do and what we say sometimes can be different things, you know.
But the fact that we want them though, and that's what we're putting out there and projecting, that we're saying, hey, this is my walk, this is what I'm about, regardless if the person falls short, right? If they can fall short on their own behalf all day, right. I don't want to be the person to make you. I don't want to be the person making you fall short, you know. Right. So I think that was my whole thing about it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. What did you think, real quick? What did you think of the situation that happened? Because there was a lot of Christianity and religious, and you know, even Alexis mentioning that she was a former first lady, and then the situation with her and Ron and religion being an issue there. And then again, we saw it played out with Liz and David. And then, you know, what did you think about that being, I mean, that is a real issue with people dating, you know, in life. But what did you think about the representation that happened on the show?
I don't. All right, so her break. Which part of this do you want me to hit first? You packed a lot of stuff in.
Well, I mean, you can hit whatever hits you first, but I'm just saying, like, it was a lot of mentions of religion and spirituality, and that being a part of how I connect with somebody. I mean, Liz's celibacy is obviously part of her religious beliefs. Alexis and Ron, religion came between them. What was your stance on just kind of hearing that be a consistent theme throughout the show this season?
Man, it really wasn't something that was addressed directly with me. It was more of a, you know, the kind of surface level questions that you get, making sure, hey, you're not an atheist, right? You believe in God. Okay, great. Are you really religious? The answer to that is no. Do you attend church? I've attended church, and I'm a church goer, but have I been to church here in Houston consistently? No. You know, I've never found a church here that I would consider like a church home. So, but am I a religious person? No. But I believe in God, and you know, I was raised Baptist, and I think that's kind of how you were raised. Always kind of has more of like the fabric of how you set yourself up to view your morals and your values and what your perspectives on life is going to be, regardless of whether or not you continue to be active in that religion or not, because it's ingrained in you. Like I was one of those people where you had to go to church every Sunday. It was no, you know. So
we talked about that with Alexis. Like there are some people that if you were raised like that, and then later you get to a point where you're not feeling that, it doesn't mean that you're not a Christian. Just could mean that you're not into all the religious rigmarole that's not attractive to you. But that, because a lot of people have what they call church hurt from seeing stuff that happened after they were forced to be in it. So I just thought it was interesting that was such a big conversation this season. We haven't in Atlanta. I don't think we were Atlanta. No one was worried about religion.
Well, look, because that's one of the things here. Like when I first moved here, and I don't know why it stopped, but when I first moved here, that was kind of like the second or third date. You know, okay, cool. Like the first date, I like you. We have drinks or whatever. The second date, okay, we get something to eat. That third date, that woman was like, "Yo, you want to come to church with me on Sunday? Well, what's going on? You want to go to church with me?" So that's how I ended up, you know, at a lot of different churches. It wasn't because I was like really hitting Houston trying to explore which church I wanted to go to. These were like situations where it's like, "Do you want to go to church with me?" And of course, you know, someone invites you to come to church with them. And at the time, before I moved, I was going to church heavy in Chicago.
Okay.
So it was one of the things that I definitely missed when I moved. I was going to Trinity. I was going to Obama's church, you know. So it was a really dope church. And I didn't really find a supplement for that or something that was similar to that feeling that I got here.
Okay.
And everybody goes to church here. It felt like you've seen the people that was out all night, Saturday night partying. If they could have went to the after hours and they might have had the same stuff on. They had church in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's like that in Atlanta, but Houston, everybody's in church on Sunday, regardless of what they're doing. Folks get off the pole and be right in the first aisle of the pew.
Well, it's the Bible Belt. I grew up in Oklahoma, so I know it was kind of like a Bible Belt situation. But I just wondered, I think it's good conversation because that, how people live and their lifestyle is a part of being compatible, right? But I just thought it was interesting that we saw that so much. So we got to talk about this Kylea versus Alexis. I don't know. I don't want to call it a threesome because that sounds too provocative. But what just the conundrum that you were in with the two ladies. You made a statement that one, sometimes you can have, I know I'm just paraphrasing, but someone that's good for you versus what you want versus what you need.
I feel like that was taken so out of context, right? And everybody looked at it like, oh, he called Alexis boring. No. You have stuff that's unfamiliar to you, right? I've never dated a woman that had been married and had a long-term relationship type of situation. I say my show experience could be boiled down to women that were married and sustained a long relationship and those that weren't and didn't have kids. So the two that were married before, they approached dating and being in that conversation way differently. And plus they had kids. So they approached the conversation way differently than I felt like a single woman that never had kids, right? Absolutely. And it was really refreshing to me to see how, the people that sustained relationships approach dating. But just in general, I feel like we all are always battling against what we need and what we want, right? Folks say, hey, I want to lose 15 pounds. And they say, man, I want ice cream right now. But do you need ice cream right now? You not if you're serious about what it is that you say that you want. And the thing that I continuously said while I was on the show that they kind of took out is I was looking to get into a committed relationship that I could see ending in marriage, that I can have some kids. I don't have any children. You see, when my mother got on there, that was the first thing she was talking about. What about these kids? Like,
everybody, by the way, your mom was a big hit. Everybody is saying we love your mom. She came across.
I love my mom because she was on me. Like I said, Mom, Dad, you gonna ask me? You're supposed to be interrogating her. Like you're supposed to be asking her questions. You asking me all of the questions.
She raised you right. She's like, wait a minute now. I don't paying. She didn't like to hear that you took out a young lady and that she had to pay. I mean, that's just a good mom. That's good mothering now. She can't support you with that, AJ. Now, come on.
I didn't expect her to support me in that, but I'm just saying she was supposed to be, getting the probe in, getting the grill situation happen. Well, I guess that went both ways because I felt like Kylea felt the same way about her mom too. Like she was trying to put her mom on me, and once like you didn't get to see it, her mom's a skater. And I was like, yo, I don't skated a half my life. Like we could go ahead and once she heard that I skate and we was talking about skating, and Kylea's mom is hilarious. She was like really funny. It's a shame that they cut a lot of that out. She asked me some really wild stuff. She was like, hey, so I've taught Kylea how to speak to the inner king of a man. So what are you going to be able to do to speak to the inner queen of her? And I was looking like, man, what is these type of questions that's happening?
What did you say? That is a interesting question. What was your response?
What was my response? Look, before I could answer, she went off into this whole story about, so I would imagine the man, taking me out after I had a long day of work. He say, baby, just get dressed. And then he'd take me and he'd blindfold me. And then he got me in the car and he got the top down, and then he take me somewhere and I don't quite know where I'm at. I could hear the city traffic, I could hear the wind blowing, and then the next thing I know, we getting on a private jet and we going. I said, ma'am, you kid you not. I said, you know what? I don't have an answer for this question, but I tell you what, whenever I want to go ahead and speak to the inner queen or her, I'm just gonna give you a call. How about that? You can go ahead and help me out. You can let me know what I need to do. Let me, because obviously you got to figure it out. Because I wouldn't have never none of that.
She had a script. She had a script that you were not privy to. What did your mom say about Kylea after you guys were not on camera anymore?
Man, she you know, I don't know if moms always say they could see themselves in whoever you date, but I already kind of had said that there was similarities there. In true, your mom, your parents are your first hero. So, my mother is my hero.
Yeah.
And so and the thing about it, I was having this conversation with Stacy. I was like, hey, I've seen and watched, a strong Black woman, and she raised me, basically by herself. And I seen her be really tough. I seen her be really hard all the time. But what I didn't get to see her be was soft. And I think that was some of the conversation that I was having with Kylea. I get that you're a professional woman. I get that you are, independent and all of these different things, but you have to be able to relax some of that and show a softer side of you. And that was some of the conversation I was having with all of the women, and talking about a safe space and being able to maintain that safe space so you can show up as you and be vulnerable in conversations and be able to connect on a deeper level. So it wasn't just all about looks. I wasn't being conceited or cocky when I was like, I've dated pretty. And what I'm saying, why it's cool, it's not the thing that is going to be give you that longevity in the relationship, at least what I want,
Well, let me ask you this though, because I think it's interesting that you said, because I hear a lot of men say that about women not being able to kind of take the boss hat off or take that hardness, let soften up even when they're with their man because they're so used to that. But I love the fact that you're able to relate that to your relationship and what you witnessed with your mother. So I wonder, what do you think would have allowed your mother to soften up and to let that feminine side of her out? Knowing her the way you do, what do you think that could have been like for her?
Look, that's a whole separate conversation. I think that is a very systematic thing of why women, and especially Black women, have felt like they've had to do it all. You know what I'm saying? They just have felt like that they had to do it all. That, there's not a whole lot of examples of Black men being reliable, being dependable, and kind of just being very principle based of how they ran the household. So they saw their mother, have to do it all. And 9 times out of 10, not only that, their mother told them to never depend on the man, to make sure you have your own stuff, that you doing this, and to not, put all your eggs in the basket of building a man up or trying to see a man succeed. You make sure you're succeeding yourself, right? So if you have that talked to you since birth, and then at the same time, on the opposite end of that, Black women have told their sons of how they would have liked to be treated in a relationship. So it's like, you need to do this, and you make sure that you're doing that, and you never do this to a woman, and you treat the woman like that. But the thing about it that was missed and all of that, and I asked women this on the show, and this was some of the things that I was saying, I had serious conversations with women that I don't think that people were ready for, that they just kind of cut out. I was like, the thing that you don't hear, or at least I didn't hear it, is for all of the stuff that is expected for a man to do, what is it that we're getting in return?
Oh.
So she never said, I've never heard any woman say, hey, a man is supposed to do all of this stuff for you, but
Yeah.
this is how you show up for a man. This is what you're supposed to do to support a man. This is how you make a man feel like this. The same way, like what I said, Kyra's mom say, oh, look, I taught her how to speak to the inner king of a man, type of thing.
Yeah.
That is not something that I feel is part of the conversation at all, because it's so basic of the level of disrespect or the level of trauma or the level of just dysfunction that we've seen in relationships, that you don't even get to those deeper spaces of how to support each other in those ways or how to build each other up.
Yeah.
There's a reason why 85% of men that's millionaires are married. There's a reason why the cliche exists behind every strong man is a strong woman. Those cliches exist for a reason, and I think that those things are kind of missed. I think feel like if I show up, the fact that I'm here kind of generates all of that. And that's not the case.
I like that. That's true. But it's like it is another conversation, but it's still the same conversation, because when you see a woman that is not able to let her guard down, it is the same exact conversation that didn't allow your mother to, and her mother probably taught her the same thing. So it really is. There's no way for us to disconnect it. And I think that when we're dating, we have to be cognizant of that, of what we saw and what we and what we wish. I have a good friend that is in a relationship, and he's so excited. He was a single guy. He got with a girl that had 3 children, and he said, I feel like I love her and I love the children, but I feel like this is almost me making up for what my mother didn't have.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was so deep, because I'm like, wow, he really understands, as opposed to running away from it. Because there are a lot of women in the comments, as soon as you mentioned, the Black woman being strong, we feel like, oh my God, here we go again. Because a lot of men will see that, I don't want that, and then go date someone either a lot younger or in a different race, as opposed to saying, this is our issue. I've got to figure it out, And so I applaud the fact that you're even aware that is a problem, and we can't just go outside of our race or go to someone that's an extreme just so you can get away from the fact that these are generational issues that our culture is dealing with,
So the thing is this, right? You in a cliche, right? You can only be as good as what your competition is, or you can only be as strong as the person that's standing next to you. I never want to date a damsel. I'm okay on dating damsels.
Wait. Let me ask you this before you go on, because your mother mentioned that you like projects, so that made me immediately think that you like the damsel in distress. That's exactly what I thought when she said that. I was like, oh, he probably likes the girls that are needy as opposed to the girls that are professional.
No, so I don't know how they cut that. I have to go back and look at it. But I've just done a lot in my life, whether it be tumbling or whether it be basketball or whether it be music or, computer programming, engineering, or like languages. So like, even while I was in college, I picked basically like a self-study every semester, where I got like a bunch of books and I immersed myself in it. Like, one of those things was like theology, right? So that's the reason why when it comes to religion, like, I can speak to you all day about religion, about multiple religions and most people's religion. And so I respect people's belief, because at the end of the day, I feel like the root of them all are the same, and so once you get to that space, what type of building it is, and what type of architecture or what the name of it is, it really doesn't kind of matter.
Yeah.
And then what's the scripture? There where 2 or more are gathered in the name of the Lord is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm present. That's church right there. So it doesn't have to be this this thing of like organized religion type of thing, you know? So
AJ, we got to get back to the projects now. That you said you did a lot of things.
sure, but so basically the projects weren't women. So
okay.
that's because my mother, that was literally in all of the dating that I've done in my whole life. That was probably maybe the third woman that she's ever met.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, AJ. So so you really haven't had a lot of serious I'm gonna marry you type relationships.
No, it was just after the first woman, you know what I'm saying? And I was really serious about that, which was the longest relationship I was in. I mentioned it before. It was like for 4 years.
Yeah.
My mother got like really attached, right? And you do all of this stuff. You spend all of the holidays together and you do all of that. And I'm one of those people, when I broke up, we broke up. Everybody broke up. You know what I'm saying? No, you broke up too.
Yeah.
And that was really tough for her. Like I would, you show up to your crib or something and it's like, hold on, what are you doing here? Oh, well, yeah, your mother was doing something. I said, oh, never again. Never again will I go ahead and kind of create this dynamic like that. I need to know like for sure that this is what it's gonna be. Because it was selfish of me to feel like, oh, okay, they couldn't continue their relationship because I ended mine. So I acknowledge that, but that's something that I can also control too by not doing it again.
That's true. I can feel that. Now, a lot of the comments were, and I want to ask, just what do you think when you watch the show back? I mean, the finale got a lot of responses. Twitter was going crazy. My inbox was lit up. Kylea definitely, in my opinion, I actually talked about it on a couple of reality checks and another show. Usually guys are the ones that are kind of playing the field and kind of, I got her on lock. It appeared to us that Kylea really did have, at one point, the entire cast.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, hold on, wait a second. But David said it for me. What type of time you got in the day? Because it took a lot of time, because most people were talking to everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of people. You heard, even though he had like a really strong connection with Benicia, you heard that Joel talked to everybody. He called everybody every day. I was never one of those guys. I didn't have time to call everybody. I was like, oh, if it's anything that I can do to strike you off the list, then I'm gonna do it. But it was other people that I found interesting that just I didn't get around to having time with, like Amber. It was like, okay, well, let me have a conversation with you. And it was like kind of just too late. It was like we hadn't talked, we haven't did anything. And she felt like I was only talking to her because it was elimination. I was like, that's not true. But since you feel that way, though, don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that she's one of the very few honest people. But do you think, when you watched it, did you think that Kylea did kind of play her cards? She kind of played the game well, because she did. I mean, like I said, at one point, everybody in the room, except for KG, said they had the strongest connection with Kylea.
I think that's because she listens and she follows up. So, she is again, it has to do with what a profession is. I think it's a service-based, industry. You have to work well with clients. You have to manage your clients. But that was always the thing that I didn't like. I don't want to feel like you're managing me. I don't want to feel like you're trying to appease me and make sure that I'm good in the situation or whatever, and to move me along, to just kind of hold me in the space. But I could see how it would be attractive, because in a lot of conversations, men will tell you they don't feel like they're heard or get a lot of opportunity to speak. So to meet a woman where it seems like you're able to be heard, you're able to finish a complete thought, and then on top of that, the things that you talk about and say, she follows up and says, oh, well, how did that thing go yesterday that you was talking to me about? And it's like, oh, snap, she's interested in me. And I didn't really take it as that. I looked at it as like a skill. I like, oh, okay, this person, she has a skill that she's able to, yeah, absolutely. So it was kind of like, I needed to see like just more weight and more emotion behind, or just kind of like, I don't know, like it's hard to describe, but I needed to see more than just that.
But did you when you watched it, did you think that she did that was done strategically or on purpose? Because I mean, honestly, AJ, it did seem like she wanted everybody to pick her. At least, definitely you and Jason. It felt like, from what the edited version was for us, that she wanted to make sure she stayed you guys' top picks so that she could make the decision on who she wanted to be with. Even to the point where, when you didn't want to pick her, I don't know if she hypnotized you or what, but you kept her there, and then she was upset that Jason did not pick her as well. Almost like just indignant that how dare him not choose me too. So that's what we saw. What did you see when you watched it back?
Yes. So all right. So living it and then watching it is two different things. Right. So I remember in that particular experience, obviously I didn't get to see the Jason and Liz connection happening and developing in the background, because it was developing in the background. Because every time we were in deliberation or wherever we were at, Jason was saying, "Hey, it's Kyra." Yeah. You seen the group date that we were on? It was me, Alexis, and Kyra and Jason. Mm-hmm. He made that whole declaration then, what I'm saying, in front of kind of everybody. And that was the only thing that I heard and knew about it. So when it comes down to the ranch, overnight trip, I'm kind of thinking like I'm the only real person that's in this pickle. Like I'm feeling like everybody else has kind of got their mind made up, you know what I'm saying, and have a clear direction. I didn't necessarily have that same clear direction. So with me, I kind of tried to keep it neutral, but at the same time, spend more time with Kyra than Jason did. Because unfortunately, there was no one else for me to fend off when it came to Alexis, right? There's nobody else for me to have to try to,
after Ron, after Ron was gone.
There's nobody for me to fend off in that way. So what I couldn't do is have it be where Jason spent more time with her there on the ranch than I did. So I definitely feel like I spent more time. But obviously he was doing his own thing and, making it happen for what he felt like he wanted to do for himself. And, that's great. Yeah. But I wasn't paying attention to it like that. I was just I was on defense.
Okay.
And so while I was there and feeling like I was able to make ground on our connection, I didn't look at it like that. I didn't know all of that other stuff was happening. Now, of course, watching it back, I'm like, wait a minute, wait a second. Now I'm only seeing I only saw half of the story. I was thinking that I was in a better spot and further along, and you know what I'm saying? I don't know what necessarily I was thinking, from the conversations that I was having, but watching it back, it looked like, oh, this is not gonna play well. This is not gonna play well at all right here. But I felt like the conversations that we had were very genuine. Do I feel like Kyra was trying to necessarily play a game? No, I think that she just was showing up how she naturally shows up. Okay. And people can look at it and take it like, oh, she's more into me than what she really is. Essentially, I'm telling you that right now. Like even
yourself,
like even myself, like, oh, like I'm in there. You know what I'm saying? This guy, I'm good right here. And then to watch it back.
But that kind of goes back to what you said about her listening and being and focusing on a person, making them feel like that, that present in that connection, and probably giving that person confidence, to keep her there. And I don't know if she did it on purpose. I'm just saying that it seemed to be the way we've seen other guys do it in previous seasons. And I definitely am down for women doing the same thing, but it seemed to us that I'm just being honest. I think sometimes women, we put all our eggs into one basket too fast, right? So she definitely,
women, y'all have all of the charm. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a contest about who's going to be more charming or whatever, like women, y'all have way more tools, you have way more skills, there's way more stuff.
But women are usually more genuine in the situation, where guys are kind of like, a woman will meet a man like AJ. When everyone saw you on the show, all the women are like, he's attractive. We know the tall, dark, handsome. You got your beard on the beard is on deck. It's
what did they say immediately after that?
What did they say?
Oh, AJ for the streets.
Some people have said that you were for the streets.
It was like, hold on. 38, you look good, tall, got a whatever.
Yeah.
Single with no kids. Oh no, I already seen this brother before.
But when you were, but you know what I said, when you were watching you from the edited version that we saw, it did seem like you were kind of like, I'm here. I know I'm attractive. I know I'm a catch. Not really pressed, right? And that
I'm super not pressed.
See, that equals for the streets. So when you're not pressed, let me explain that. When you're not pressed and you're just having a good time, you're not really serious. There were some guys, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there were some guys that we felt like, wow, he really wants a wife. Like this is his chance to have, a wife. With you, it kind of seemed like, if she here, cool. If she ain't cool, I ain't really tripping. So I didn't really feel like you were into Alexis at all. I did feel like you were into Kyra, but I don't know if that was because you really were into Kyra or you guys had like a past, and she's very attractive. You know what I mean? You did not seem like you were really open and vulnerable and really into that situation. And that's how people interpreted it.
So let's go back then, all right? Because I'm gonna ask you questions then. So out of the women who seemed like they were really trying to find a husband.
I'll be honest. I think I do believe that Stacy was. I believe that the women, I'll say Stacy, I believe Andrea, a lot of the women were. I believe Vernisha.
Oh, what though?
I believe they really wanted love. I think that the women don't come into a situation not genuine. They come in with their guard up because they're afraid of being hurt. And I think we heard that.
Men don't do that.
You could, but see, I wouldn't know how that looks because I'm not a man. So I can only see that. I recognize what Stacy's doing. I didn't recognize them, the freaking frack. I did not recognize that, but I did recognize Alexis saying that, wow, I have a son. I want this. And I also understood when she said she was afraid that she would get hurt if she was into you, because it was obvious how attracted she was to you, obvious how into you she was, not so obvious how much you were into her. So that can be a hurtful situation.
Chris. All right, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever in a relationship with a guy, do you feel that you were a guy's protection? Do you feel like you provide and protect the man? I do. Two relationships, the one I'm in now and my first marriage.
So, but it looks different though, right?
It does.
But that doesn't mean that men aren't looking to be provided for and protected. We want this. We want all the same stuff that y'all want. Y'all need to get off of feeling like women are like different. We're not that different. It just looks different.
It looks different. That's good.
Everything. So everything that you want in a relationship, you want to feel safe. You want to feel secure. You want to feel appreciated. You want to feel acknowledged. You want to feel all of these things. Men want to feel all of that too.
Yeah.
But
we need to know that. We need to know that.
I'm telling you that now. But you look, the way you're approaching it and having this conversation with me, it's kind of like, well, y'all just guys. I don't know. Y'all eat stuff and y'all go to work, and you know what I'm saying? Y'all are supposed to bring the check back. You know what I'm saying? Bring the check back.
No. I think you're right. We don't know what that looks like. And I think that everybody, men and women, are so, especially once you've been hurt before. Ready to Love is filled with people that have baggage, because we're all, at a certain age, which means you've had some hurt before, you've been through some stuff. So I think in trying to protect ourselves, we can be distrusting of each other, and we don't know what that looks like. So it's kind of like Tommy said, that it's just like everybody comes in with this baggage to keep everybody else, that keeps everybody else away. And sometimes it's just, how do we let that go?
Look, I give every woman that's listening to this a gem. The power of what a woman is supposed to do is a woman brings purpose and clarity to a man's life. How does she bring purpose and clarity to a man's life? I can want to go ahead and be as successful as I want to be on my own. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can, but it's the same way if you like played sports and you trained with a trainer or whatever, you're able to do more because somebody else is looking at you, someone is believing in you, or someone is dependent on you. If I go out the house and I say, hey, I'm going to kill a lion today, and it's just me and it's hot and I'm out here for 4 hours and I don't see a lion, I can convince myself, well, I'll kill a lion tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It'd be all right. It'll be a lion. I'll kill it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if I have a woman and I say, hey, I leave out the house, I'm killing a lion today, you know what I'm saying? Be prepared to, you know, she sharpening knives and she cooking the stuff. She getting the kitchen together because she thinking she's going to have to deal with the lion when she gets back.
Yeah.
No man wants to see the look on their woman's face when they come back home empty-handed. So even if that man didn't kill a lion, he gonna come back with 4 rabbits and be like, hey, look, I got 4 rabbits. You know what I'm saying? I ain't get a lion today, but you know, like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't come back with nothing, right?
She'll say, babe, we'll get it tomorrow. We'll get it tomorrow. Yeah.
And it's in that point right there that the woman either has the ability to make that man feel really big or really small. You know what I'm saying? She can make him feel like he's a complete and utter failure, or she could go ahead and be behind him and speak life into him so that he can be stronger the next day and do what he needs to do. And it's because of that encouragement that, you know, a man to be willing to go ahead and give you $65 billion if you was married to him when he didn't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, look, she gets 65 billion, even though she wasn't, you know, doing nothing what I was doing or whatever. But the support that she gave me was just that important for me to be able to continue to do what it is that I do. And then you add kids into that situation, it's just like, oh, look. But again, where did that come from? That came from a woman that you saw that should be your wife, that you could procreate with, that could bear your children, that could raise them up. And you give, again, a woman gives a man's life purpose and clarity.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people are really appreciating that gem. And then, like I said, we are all learning. So this show is a great tool for people to be able to see themselves, see maybe things that they didn't know when they were dating, because it's dating is not easy. Dating and finding a connection is not easy. So I appreciate you taking it there and kind of giving us, schooling the women that are listening. People are definitely appreciating that. I have to ask you, did you, at the time when you realized this wasn't going to work with Kyra, did you have a moment where you thought, man, maybe I picked the wrong person? Maybe I should have chosen Alexis?
Look, you got to continue watching that because
Alexis gave us a little bit of scoop, and she said, Alexis has said that she did look back, that she did go back. So I'm assuming that was with you. So at the moment, did that run through your head?
Sure. You know, like, I don't know. I can't remember how they cut it, but watching it back, I didn't think that I was going to feel some type of way about it, but watching it back was definitely an experience. You know what I'm saying? Where it was kind of like, you relived it. You know what I'm saying? Because I put myself out. I put myself all the way out there in that moment. I was taking a major leap of faith, and I was doing it in an unsure space, right? You know, and I knew that going into it. So presenting us being in a relationship, and you've seen it, you know, because Tommy didn't tell us that.
Right.
But I'm glad he told the women that, you know, the goal is to leave here today in the committed relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you saw other people, which I won't, you know, go back and watch the tape. That is a lot of people that didn't necessarily end in a committed relationship that still supposedly chose each other.
That's
true.
Know
and so, you know, I think I approached that very seriously. I think she approached it very seriously. And so when she told me, hey, she needs more time to be in the relationship, but that we could still date, and she still wanted to continue to date, I didn't really look at it like the end of the world, but it was definitely a blow because I was in the space of where I was ready to take that chance because I had my own reservations that were really quite clear about, like, you know, whether it been Alexis or whether it been Kylea.
Right.
Nobody was like a clear cut, like, oh, this is about to be a breeze. No, like it was nobody that was like that.
Yeah.
And so I think relationships in general are kind of like that. You know, there's no guarantees.
It's no guarantee. But I applaud the fact that you did. We saw a vulnerable, for us, and I keep saying that, we didn't see much. We didn't see everything. But the moment that you did, we were able to see a vulnerable moment for you. And that's always courageous. And that always pays off, even if it doesn't pay off in the relationship. Are there any other couples on the show that you were rooting for? We know that you probably know obviously a lot more than we do. We're going to tune into the reunion. But was there anybody on the show that you were really like, I like them together, I hope they work?
Man, Joel and Venetia.
Yeah, they're the super couple this season.
Yeah. Joel and Venetia, they locked in. So they locked in so fast that everybody else kind of stepped out of the way. I think the only person that kind of was like, hold on now, what's going on was Amber. You know, she looked like, you can't lock the man all the way down. Now we together, we supposed to be dating, honey. No, but yeah, I think that no guy really looked like, all right, I'm gonna, try to push up on Venetia or whatever. For me, it was after that first conversation, it was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. We're in two different directions too. She's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she's accomplished and successful, but she has 3 kids and didn't want any more. And so it was like, oh, I want to father some kids in my lifetime. So it was kind of no point in kind of continuing that. So, and it was 10 women, and I knew it was gonna go really fast. I needed all the measures in the world, like nope, next.
Yeah, got to keep it moving. Is there anybody that you think that you just missed the opportunity? Like, this would have been somebody I really could have, if I could go back and do it over again, I would have spent more time with her earlier on or tried to make that happen.
Chrysanthemum.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you said Stacy.
No, I think Stacy too. But I had more time with Stacy than I had with Chrysanthemum.
Okay.
But no, Stacy was really dope. And again, the fact that they became friends and kind of like connected at the hip, it made it really difficult for me, because it's like, okay, either somebody's gonna have to go. I don't, you know what I'm saying? And trying to pick between the two of them was extremely tough. And you kind of look at it.
Yeah, they were calling people out for it, right?
and I had to look at it. So essentially, it came down to just where I was in my preparedness as a man. Like, Stacey has 3 kids, even though she was open for more children. And, I think that ultimately could have worked, but I would have had a lot of growing and a lot of catching up to do really, really, really fast. And so, and I just always kind of saw my first child being whatever woman I'm with first child. So
that's funny. Alexis said that she felt that you chose Kylea because there wasn't, she was just at a different place in life. And she felt like with her having a child and kind of, having been married before, you would have kind of had to step up in a different way with the responsibility. And she felt like, and I'm paraphrasing from her interview, it was just an easier choice. And that's kind of in essence what you're saying. Like you kind of want to start at the same place as the person that you're with. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Last question. I appreciate your patience and us going through this. I think it's been a great interview. And I think you've shared some good things, not just for the show, but just for people that will hear this interview outside of that. But what did you learn about AJ that you want to, what changes did you see, or do you feel that you want to make, or were there any things that you want to do differently from what you saw of yourself over the season?
I think I have to go back and watch it again. You lived it and you felt whatever way you felt about it, and it's still going on. So like after the dust settles from the reunion and everything else, I think I give it a break and then I go back and watch it one more time. But one is to be a little bit more open early,
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of know that there's more than one way to connect, right? And kind of be able to figure and fill out how the other person connects and what's important to them faster, instead of making it be about what's important to me first. And I get it. Like, as the guy, we hunt, we choose, or whatever. So if I'm going to be doing all the work, it's going to be my program. That's usually how I approach it.
That's
Like,
real. Yeah.
if I'm doing all of the work, if I got to do how I'm going to do it, we operate on my program. But to kind of be more open to the feedback and kind of being able to sense what's going on and generating that conversation to make it more of a buy-in early, because that's ultimately what I was asking for later.
Yeah.
Was to act for, for the woman to be more active in what was happening, so we could make sure that we're both getting what it is that we want. Right.
Yeah. Well, we wish you lots of love. I think everybody, if you want it, it's out there. You obviously don't have any problem attracting women and finding women that are. I'm just saying, you.
No, look, you ain't been looking at these comments. I've been seeing what these comments been doing right now.
I'm seeing the comments. I'm reading all the comments, and I saw the comments prior to today. The comments, I mean, the comments on you were always positive. They were just where AJ is playing, but that doesn't mean that that there's not lots of options. And I'm sure Houston is, it's a wonderful, beautiful Black city. So there's a lot of options, but I'm sure, like I told Alexis and I tell everybody on the show, I think love is something that we can all have if we want it. The universe responds to what we truly put out there. So we wish you all the best. I think that just from this conversation, I think people definitely that are listening, there's almost 700 people, on here listening to you right now, really got to see another side of you that I wish we got a chance to see more of on the show. But I thank you for sharing that and being so candid tonight. I really appreciate that. Can you tell people where they can follow you or find other stuff that you have going on besides just, being the tall, dark, handsome bachelor on Ready to Love?
All right. So I've definitely made a woman's album for them to love themselves more. Nice. I made it with a wonderful Rochelle Gemini. It's called As For Me in My House. It's on all streaming platforms. It's an album that's all about like self-love, self-discovery, you know what I'm saying, from a woman's standpoint. I produced all of the music on there.
Nice.
People always ask me, well, what does he produce? There's something I produced right there. I produced the whole album from front to back. Rochelle Gemini, As For Me in My House. You can find me on, Instagram or wherever under Inclinations. It was a weird thing that I did, but it's actually kind of genius a little bit. You put those letters in together like that, everything that you see is me. I wish I could delete some of that stuff off the internet. But
we're definitely doing that. Put in Inclinations. And I have it, he has it up here spelled as INCANASOUS. Make sure that you guys put that in. And AJ, if you will send over the link to As For Me in My House, I'll make sure that we include that in the article with you so that everybody that's listening to this and that saw it and wants to reference back can go download that, because people were definitely mentioning the song that you played for Kylea that women were definitely attracted to. We thought that was dope. That's definitely something that nobody else has done. That's yours. Playing a song at the very end. So we want to make sure to include that. So if you'll send that link over, we'll make sure that that we include that for people in the article. And thank you for hanging out with us late night on a Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad. Right. Look, I appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we may want to have you come back after the reunion, depending on how crazy this reunion is. We may need you.
Yeah, you probably will want to talk to me again after the reunion.
Okay. We won't say goodbye. We'll just say see you soon. See you soon. All right, AJ. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
All right. Bye.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We had to make a whole change in scenery, but we had a great interview. I really think that we learned a lot more about AJ than we were able to see on the show. Remember to tune in on Monday. We have Alexis coming next week. And then we actually have Tommy's going to come back to share exactly what happened at this reunion. So you guys stay tuned. Have a great Monday night. Have a great week. We'll definitely be tuning in and talking about the reunion on Friday. And I'll see you guys later on this week. All right. This is Crystal Jordan signing out for Reality Check right here on Rolling Out. And I hope you guys have a beautiful, productive week. I'll see you next time.